Hello there. My name's Brian Cohn. I'm a Bitcoiner and I'm also a librarian, or at least I'm supposed to be. Occasionally I come across articles of historical significance, especially in Chronicling America, which I find particularly interesting, which I decided to start sharing via YouTube. This one I found a few weeks ago and I put up on Reddit, on WikiLeaks Reddit, and it got about 50 upvotes, which is pretty good. It made the front page of the WikiLeaks Reddit. It is in a world of government surveillance and post Snowden. I look back and say, where is the starting point? Where were the warning signs? And this one comes from the San Francisco Call. It is from Sunday, January 1st, 1899, and is called "There Are Perpetual Spies in Many Households." And there's a subtitle: "Telephone Company Has a Gigantic System of Espionage." And that would have been a better title, but it has a few other subtitles. Every conversation at disposal of the talker's business or social rivals. And organized betrayal of its customers carried on for pay, and the most confidential messages leaked directly to the office of the examiner. And here we go. So the law safeguards the inviolability of letters sent through the mails. Their seal may not even be broken to further the ends of justice, except in the manner which the courts have determined, and a respect for private rights. The law, in a long line of statutes and decisions, has thrown the protection around communications by telegraph. The rights of the sender and receiver are defined and trespass upon them at the peril of the trespasser. The tapping of telegraph wires to secure illegal possession of the messages they carry for the benefit other than the person sending the one receiving them is made a felony and is punished penally. The interests of society and civilization are now so dependent upon modern methods of intercommunication, the mail, the telegraph, and the telephone, that any violation of the trust assumed by either method is an offense, not only in itself, but supplying facility for other offenses, makes the one guilty of it possibly accessory to a wide range and great variety of crimes. If it were needful that the law protect the privacy of letters and of telegrams and of the telegraph wires, which offer peculiar facilities for tapping, the impossibility of guarding them on the deserts, mountains, and lonely reaches over which they stretch, there is much more necessity that the law stand guard over the telephone. It is used in millions of homes for communication between members of family, and in the relation carries everyday messages of domestic confidence, many of which disclose would throw society into turmoil. It is used in confidential communication and between businessmen and their correspondents, agents and customers. It is profitably employed by the daily press in gathering news, in sending orders to reporters, and correspondence for exclusive information. The inviolate ownership of which is valuable consideration to a newspaper. So universal has become the employment of the telephone, and so general is the public confidence in the privacy of its use, that it's safe to say that any violation of that privacy is a more serious offense than opening of letters unlawfully or the tapping of telegraph wires. Telegrams can be sent in cipher, and letters can be written in cryptograms, but people do not talk in cipher. Communication by telephone is carried on as freely as though the parties stood face to face. The possibility of a leak in the telephone carries disquiet and consternation into every home, public office, and business establishment where the use of that instrument has become a necessity. A telephone company is an important trustee of the whole community patronizing it, and violation of that trust is an offense of such aggravated criminality as to require the most drastic reprisals. Through being made the victim of such betrayal of this trust, the call has been led to use the means of demonstrating that the administration of the telephone company in San Francisco is corrupt to the core, and its service a gigantic spy system and organized betrayal of its customers for the benefit of their social, political, amatory, official, or business enemies or rivals who are willing to pay the price for treachery and violation of privacy. The first offense which attracted attention of this office was committed by an employee of the telephone company at Sausalito. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'm not from California. A call reporter had sent in exclusive information of the attempted murder on the Chispa, and immediately the telephone operator repeated it is to the Examiner correspondent. On investigation, the operator admitted this offense and was discharged. This incident caused a quiet and searching investigation into the methods of the Pacific Telephone and Telegraph Company and a subordinate corporation, the Sunset Telephone and Telegraph Company. The former handles the local business of San Francisco, the latter all out-of-town business. The result of this investigation will startle the community and spread abroad a feeling of distrust and unsafety. Several sporadic leaks were found, but on chasing them down, they were found to be no parts of the main system. They consisted of the results of chummy gossip between occasional woman reporter and some of the telephone girls. In filing them up, it was discovered, however, that there was a regular system of leakage as extensive as anyone wished to have it or who was willing to put up. At last it was found to be the Examiner office. An employee of that paper devised it, and when he had it in working order, was instructed to go on and perfect it. For that purpose he was supplied with theater tickets, money for suppers and entertainments. His work was to secure control of the operators and convert the switchboard into an adjunct of the Examiner office. His newspaper work consisted in sitting with the telephone to his ear and listening to messages which were leaked onto his wire by simply bringing its plug into contact with the wire that he wished to tap. In this way, the news reports to the other papers were stolen private conversations between businessmen, politicians, public officers, men and women, husbands and wives, have been taken off, written down, and kept in the Examiner office for use in the kind of journalism practiced there. A prominent state official had a conversation over Sunset Wire with the warden of San Quentin relative to Durant while that noted prisoner was there, each official alone at his end of the wire. But the operator of the switchboard leaked every word onto the Examiner wire, and the conversation appeared in the paper the next day. The public recalls the difficulty encountered in final disposition of Durant's body. The undertaker in charge of it received a sunset message from the Pasadena crematory that it would be received there and incinerated. Within 5 minutes, the Examiner reporter was at his office asking when the body would be sent to Pasadena, and when the undertaker sought to evade the question, the reporter said, "You have just had a telephone message from Pasadena." The call telephoned a gentleman in Oakland for his photograph, expecting to use it in connection with a contemplated public distinction that might come to him. In a few minutes an examiner or reporter appeared at the gentleman's house and asked why the call wanted his picture and demanded it for his own paper, and tried to extort information as to the connection in which it was to be used. The city editor of the Examiner, under whom the system of leakage was devised, for motives of revenge and reprisal upon Mr. John P. Young of the Chronicle, took a leak of every telephone message to and from that gentleman and sought such use of the information so obtained as would be harmful to Mr. Young. When the T.C. Walker blew up in the San Joaquin, the call service gave it a prompt and full account, upon which it issued an extra. The Examiner force was summoned to get out an extra, Also, but the grafter who had charge of the telephone leak proposed to find out what the call was going to do and was at once plugged onto the call's wire at the switchboard and heard the orders issued for an extra down to the minutest detail, even to the complaint about the slow action of the pot for melting the stereotype metal. The time lost in this eavesdropping let the examiner pressman get away so that no extra could issue from that office. Extending the examination of the call found that the decoy conversations held between the call office and different people were accurately leaked onto the wire held by the inventor of the examiner's method of violating the confidence and betraying the trust in the Pacific Telephone and Telegraph Company. It was found that messages over the wires of that company were as much at the disposal of an enemy or rival of the sender or the receiver as if they were shouted from the housetops or posted in the public billboards. It was found that instruction given to the operators who handled the out-of-town business over the sunset wires is to take down verbatim every conversation held over those wires, and that every conversation is transcribed, indexed, and preserved in the telephone office. Wow, even back then. The company cannot plead that this is for the purpose of determining the free due from the sender of the conversation for use of the wire, because the rate is fixed by the occupied and not by the number of words used. This is a portentous record of one reflects that is indexed by the possession of corporation which puts the messages sent over the wires at the service of anyone who wants them plugged to his phone. It is disquieting to thousands to know that this switchboard of the corporation is as public and open to buyers who have no right to what they get as meat block of a butcher stall in the California market. It is alarming that any and every message subject to leakage and that there is no privacy nor confidence possible, and this is not the result of an accident, of induction of currents or chance contact of wires, but of a regular system devised and hourly carried out by the employees of the company and under the noses of its officers. Many patrons of this telephone company, out of abundant caution, have private wires and phones, and to make security doubly sure that some have these under assumed names, for the purpose of complete seclusion from their business or official cares, and yet controlling such communication as they wish. But the call is prepared to show that in no case are these devices proof against the examiner's invention of his graft. How do Mayor Phelan, Governor Budd, and other prominent officials like to know that they have not had privacy for a single message they have ever sent under the supposed security of these wires and pseudonyms? We come to the conclusion of the San Francisco call, Sunday, January 1st, 1899. Telephone company has a gigantic system of espionage. If you found this particularly interesting, useful, you don't mind my monotone voice, it'd be most appreciative if you could send a few satoshis my way. Just go to my website, bitsofthis.com, click on Bitcoin, and send me a few satoshis. I'd be most grateful. Take care, guys.